My son's teacher saved his life by noticing what 3 doctors missed. I never thought a simple email from my son's kindergarten teacher would lead to a life-saving diagnosis, but that's exactly what happened last spring. My son Noah had always been energetic minus running, jumping, never sitting still for more than a minute. Kept typical 5-year-old behavior, but around February he started complaining about headaches. Nothing severe, just occasional mentions that his head hurt, usually after school or before bedtime. I took him to our pediatrician who checked his eyes, ears, and asked about screen time and sleep habits. The diagnosis was straightforward. Noah needed more consistent sleep and probably less iPad time. As a working mom, I felt that familiar pang of guilt. I resolved to be stricter about bedtime routines, but the headaches continued. Noah also seemed more tired than usual, sometimes falling asleep on the couch right after school, minus unusual for my little tornado. I took him back to the doctor who suggested it might be seasonal alditis and recommended an over-the-counter antihistamine. 2 weeks later, Noah's teacher, Miss Wilson, sent me an email that still gives me chills when I think about it. I've noticed some concerning changes in Noah's behavior that I wanted to bring to your attention. For the past few weeks, he's been tilting his head to the right when looking at books or drawing. He also seems to be squinting with his left eye, and twice this week he's lost his balance during morning circle time. Has he mentioned any vision problems to you? I hadn't noticed any of these things. Noah was with me every day, but Miss Wilson minus, who watched him alongside 23 other kindergartners minus, had spotted something I completely missed. That evening I asked Noah to draw a picturing of. He tilted his head noticeably to the right. When I covered his right eye, he struggled to identify simple shapes across the room with his left. I took him to an optometrist the next day, thinking he needed glasses. The optometrist did a thorough exam and then became very quiet. Instead of prescribing glasses, she referred us to a pediatric neurologist for urgent evaluation. Words no parent ever wants to hear. An MRI revealed what 3 doctor visits had missed. Noah had a slow-growing tumor pressing against his optic nerve. The headaches, fatigue, and vision changes were all symptoms. The neurologist told us that had it gone undiagnosed much longer, Noah could have lost vision permanently or suffered other neurological damage. Noah underwent surgery the following week. The tumor was benign and removed completely. 6 months later, he's back to being his energetic self with no vision problems or headaches. I sent Miss Wilson flowers, but they seemed woefully inadequate. How do you properly thank someone for saving your child's sight minus possibly their life? She told me she had once worked as a nursing assistant before becoming a teacher, which explained her medical knowledge, but it was her attention to detail and genuine care for my son that made all the difference. The doctors had focused on common explanations, minus sleep habits, screen time, this, missing the subtle signs that something more serious was happening. Miss Wilson, who saw Noah for just 7 hours a day in a classroom full of children, noticed what we all missed. I've learned 2 powerful lessons from this experience. First, teachers often see our children through a different lens than we do as parents, noticing changes or patterns we might miss in the daily rush of family life. And second, when something feels wrong with your child, keep pushing for answers, even when the simplest explanation seems to make sense. Noah doesn't remember much about his head problem, as he calls it, but every morning when I drop him off at school, I watch him run to Miss Wilson with a special high five they've created together. She didn't just teach my son his ABCs and 123s minus, she saved his future with her attention and care. Sometimes our everyday heroes don't wear capes or uniforms. Sometimes they simply stand in front of a classroom noticing what others don't.